going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to the Transfer View. Hope you're all having a good Thursday. As always, there is plenty of transfer news, speculation, rumour to get into in the world of Manchester United. So we are going to be getting into it this morning because people are starting to get a little bit twitchy. And people are asking the question, how many signings do Manchester United actually need this summer? Because this is where the window does start to get a little interesting, isn't it? The transfer window, we forget, has only just opened. So plenty of fans are saying, stay calm, don't panic, let Carrick and the recruitment team do the work they need to do. We've seen last summer, they did the work they needed to do, and we finished third. So don't panic, there's still plenty of time. But others are looking around and thinking, hang on, wait a minute. Other clubs are moving. Other clubs are circling, for instance, Sandro Tonali. We see Spurs, we see Arsenal, we see Manchester City. Yan Diomande, he's on the radar of top teams. Lewis Hall has admirers. The market is starting to shift. Prices are starting to rise. And many supporters feel United can't afford another summer where we just spend a lot of time monitoring and then everyone else ends up buying the players that we want. Now, we've got Here We Go on Edison. Tick. So that one is done pretty much, apart from his upcoming medical and completing his World Cup campaign, etc. Then there is Mateus Fernandes. Feels like we're getting closer and closer to that one, with details of the financial package being hammered down and hopefully a first bid coming in soon. Crescencio Somerville is another interesting one. On one hand, he offers pace, directness, Premier League experience and a left-sided option. On the other hand, some will ask whether is he a genuine game changer or is he more of a squad depth signing? And do we need squad depth signings or do we need first team signings that push some of the existing first teamers onto the bench? Then there's Lewis Hall. Many supporters see him as a long-term solution for the left-back spot, particularly with Luke Shaw, and we know his fitness issues. If an opportunity came up to sign him, should United move to that one and prioritise that? Or does the possible Somerville deal make a move for a left-back less likely? So the question for you guys is this. Who do United actually get? Of course, we know Edison, Mateus Fernandes, Somerville, Lewis Hall. How many signings do United need? 3, 4, 5? And right now, are we feeling calm? Are we feeling anxious? Are we feeling just a little bit twitchy as we start to see other clubs in the market start to do their business, which was expected? Has it made you nervous or are you still calm? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. I'm sure, as always, there'll be a lot of opinions on this because the last couple of days, as I mentioned, there have been developments more so outside Manchester United, but it is getting people a bit nervy. So we're going to be discussing it. We're also going to be discussing a little bit more on Marcus Rashford's Manchester United status. My goodness me. That story has changed and evolved over the last 2 weeks, hasn't it? At one point, it looks like there's no road back for Rashi. Then Barca say, we're not going to activate that release clause. They'll still sort something out. No, they're not interested as of right now. Then you're looking at those reports saying, well, if he does come back, which he might come back, he'd maybe want to, just sit out the remainder of his deal and then and just see how things go. Michael Carrick may like him, but what about the issues within the club when it comes to Rashford? What does that look like? Then last night, of course, he comes on for England's victory at the World Cup and scores a goal, and people are talking about him again. So we're going to be talking about that, plus everything else that happens whilst we're live. So it's going to be a big show. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Hey, I know when it comes to these shows, not everyone's an England fan, so I don't want to dwell too much. And you know me, I'm the most plastic international football fan in the world. But hey, second half last night, England looked all right, didn't they? They looked not too bad. I mean, you don't want to get too carried away, but there's a few people were getting a little bit excited. First half, there was some good bits, some bad bits, but second half, oof. Second half, they looked like something special. Some could say they maybe even looked, dare I say, optimised. I mean,
today's show is sponsored by our friends Oxford Natural and their all new improved Optimum Day and Night. I've been using it and feeling the effects, Dr. Andre, but how does this even work?
Well, it controls energy, it helps with weight control and sugar control.
And there's day and there's night. What does the night do?
Well, the night means you get a deep, restful sleep. It contains magnesium to help you relax, but at the same time, it's still controlling sugar all night.
Now, it's not a magic pill, but it is gonna help you with your health goals, isn't it, Andre?
Changing metabolism takes time. 90 days, so take the 90-day Optimum Challenge.
So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code on screen to get up to 70% off your first order using code UnitedView. No gimmicks, no needles, just results. Oxford Natural, let's get to work.
Yes, let's get to work indeed. You can scan that QR code right there to subscribe and save up to 70% off your first order of Optimum Day. Boom, bottle, pass it over to Flex. Thanks, Owen. Yes, Optimum Day right here. One of these days it's going to be superimposed in. Optimum Day, which of course is good for your weight loss goals. Also keeps your cravings curbed. Is that right? And you get your Optimum Night as well, which helps you get your restorative sleep and keeps your metabolism firing while you rest, as you saw there with the case studies. You can find out more. Scan the QR code, click the link in the video description, or you can get the link in the chat as well. It should be there. You can click that, go to the page, use our code, look at the case studies, learn more for yourself, and get optimized today. Optimize. Now, if you see carefully, if I just move just in the right direction, the gold bout is shining this morning, yeah? It's shining just like the World Cup, yeah? Just like the World Cup, just like possibly England at the World Cup, yeah? Well, we'll calm down. We'll calm down with that first. But first, we'll have a proper discussion, shall we? About really how we're just sort of feeling at the moment. How are we all feeling? Let me know in the chat. I want to make this an interactive one. I'm going to be getting in the chat this morning. Just about how many transfers will United sign this summer? How are you feeling about Manchester United's movement in the window so far? Which, on the surface, of course, seems like a ludicrous question because the window's only been open for a couple of days. But at the same time, we are now entering into that phase of the window, which we often forget about as fans. I do this all the time, and we all do this because we live in the Man United bubble. We only focus on, don't we, what Manchester United are doing and need to do, and then we get sort of, not gazumped, but we just get reminded that, oh yeah, every other club is in the same position as us when it comes to signing players, and we can't sign all of them, so those players that are available, they're going to go somewhere, and if they've been linked to us, we start to get a little bit twitchy, we get nervous. We then see some of the World Cup matches as well. So, for instance, I think this is a good example. The whole £120 million for Elliot Anderson, can't be doing that, it's too expensive, which I still agree with. There will be people, I think last night certainly, that would have watched the England game and gone, I tell you what, Elliot Anderson, good player, any. I nearly swore then, I'm not going to swear this early, but good effing player, any. You know what I mean? Good player. Because it's the natural life of being a fan, isn't it? You don't watch Forest every single week, but you might watch England in their first World Cup group game, and then you see Elliot Anderson go, bloody hell. Yeah, good player, isn't he? Very, very, very good player. Very good player. It'll be interesting to see again how he develops throughout the tournament. So my point being with that one is not that a lot of people discovered last night Elliot Anderson was good, but it ramps up the pressure, certainly, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It ramps up the pressure more, particularly when there's discussion around him and price, and that's the danger of the World Cup, isn't it? You know, a good performance can add 10 or 15 million quid onto your value. A bad one can do the opposite as well, can't it? So, yeah, I mean, where I'm at the moment, then I'll get to some of your comments. And I would agree with that, by the way, Show. I even think with Anderson, I don't even think he had his best game. I think he did all right, but I think as the tournament goes on, I think people are going to be talking about him more and more. I think so. Where am I at the moment? I'm pretty calm at the moment. I'm pretty calm. I think this is par for the course with, the nervousness. I think whenever, the pressure was put on that this was going to be the, we're going to be rebuilding the midfield this summer, and this summer is a critical summer, and, we got to be getting the right transfers. We got to be doing this. We got to be doing that. We got to be doing that. Whenever there were these periods now where there feels like a bit of a lull in Manchester United transfers, but not necessarily other transfers, then I think it's natural to start feeling a bit sort of nervous of, I think I've seen Sully respond to a couple of these online where it's the, just because we don't hear anything, does that mean nothing's going on? Why are we acting so slow when in reality, just a couple of weeks ago, we're saying, Man United are moving quite fast, actually. My goodness me, Edison, here we go. And Mateus Fernandes, this one's going to happen. It's a bit like last year, isn't it, with Brian and Mbumo, isn't it? The Mateus Cunha one happened so quickly, and we were like, wow, Mateus Cunha, season's barely finished. We've done the release clause, and we've done all that. And then we heard, didn't we, about Brian and Mbumo. He wants to sign for Manchester United, and then there was this gap, wasn't there, of sort of 6 weeks of not really that much, and there was that bit of nervousness again of what's going on here, and eventually it got done and we got the players through. You could certainly though make an argument of last year. Šeško, could that deal for his sake and United's sake, could that have been done a couple of weeks earlier? It would have helped him. Lomans the same. I mean, it didn't really faze him at all, but the sheer games we won with Lomans in goal would have been nice to have him for a couple of extra games earlier on in the season, wouldn't it? So I can understand both sides, but for me, at the moment, I'm feeling calm. I think obviously we know the Edison one is done. It feels like, I know there is still the occasional story that you hear maybe coming out from Spain from less reputable outlets of Real Madrid want Mateus Fernandes and what have you. But it does feel like clubs have started to back off a little bit of the Mateus Fernandes one, because it feels like we're going to do that. Now it's just a case of the price. And then I think this week has actually served as quite a good example of, as I've touched on many a time on this show, I do think there is a lot of guesswork about specific names and targets, because I think people don't really know. I mean, the Somerville one this week kind of came a little bit out of nowhere. The Tuesday, the deal sheet comes out of the Athletic and it's Crescencio Somerville, and everyone's like, wow, didn't see that one coming. So I think with other names, I think we're still going to see that, and there's still plenty of time. So I'm not too concerned or worried just yet. But I also do understand, hey, the trepidation or the nervousness is completely, I think, natural considering our history. As far as how many transfers we'll sign this summer, what was my pick before? I think I maybe said 5 or 6, wasn't it? I think it was like 5 or 6. I think I said, and I would still stay with that. Just a week or so ago, David Ornstein was saying, wasn't he, that he thinks United are going to be the busiest or one of the busiest clubs in this summer window. And I still do think that will probably most likely be the case. I think the thing that might end up slowing it down, like it did last year, and this is, as I always say, the true test of a transfer window, because it's not just incomings, it's outgoings. Can we move on those players that we assume are going to be easy to move on, but then when it comes to the reality can be quite difficult to move on? So we'll talk about Rashford shortly. We went through all of last season, I think most people did, assuming that, well, Rashford's going to leave in the summer. The wages will be off the books. We'll get some money, and that'll count as pure profit. But it's not a lot, but it's something, and that can go into our pot, and we can use that. Now, you're hearing a little bit like, well, there's a big question mark over that. How is that going to affect incomings? When it comes to people like Xerxes and Ugarte, I still would say Ugarte, I think he'll definitely go. But whilst the World Cup's going on, it's weird with this, because for some, it doesn't matter. You look at Real Madrid and Cucurella and those deals getting here we go and what have you. Whilst the World Cup's on, with others, stuff slows down. So I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I still feel calm. But I think for the other ones, maybe there is going to be this slowing down of the World Cup. And the problem is with that is United's pre-season. When's our first pre-season game? Is it like the day after the World Cup final or something along those lines? So it's not actually that far away as we as we think. So yeah, but as of now, like I said, I'm still feeling relatively calm. As we have seen in these over the last 18 months, and also this summer actually, the moment one deal gets the, here we go, then it immediately comes out who the next target is, who the next person is. And like I said, that's when we get quite giddy. So it's like, Edison, here we go. And now they're going for Mateus Fernandes. Oh, wow, we are moving fast. And then that one takes a little bit of time. So at the moment, I'm still calm because it's still very early. But I won't say it's completely, what's the word? A blind faith, just like blind confidence of like, it's definitely going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's definitely going to be fine, because what we have seen over the last few weeks with the window is I do think there are clubs being put off by a lot of these really high transfer values or prices. And I do think there is an element of clubs sort of thinking that they were going to be able to get a player with one price in mind. And then when they're seeing this inflated market and these clubs waiting around of like, well, Elliot Anderson might go for 120, guaranteed base fee £1 million transfer, or that Tonali could go for 100, and what would that mean for the market? And I do think there is this sort of standoff element of things, of people going, I mean, because no one wants to get a bad deal, obviously, do they? And no one wants to sell a player and then a couple of weeks later see a player goes for X amount and go, oh my god, we've had the absolute piss taken out of us there. But this market is mental. This market is insane. I mean, look at that Van Hecker deal from Brighton to Spurs. Didn't he have I think it was a year left on his contract? And it was what's the fee Van Hecker's gone for, or was going to go for? And I saw Spurs fans getting annoyed because there was a thing on, was there TalkSport, where Simon Jordan revealed a text that Daniel Levy was like, oh, they've had their pants pulled down, 52 million. So you've got a situation there where he's nearly 27 years old, 1 year left on his contract, and he's gone for 52 million. This market's mental. this market's insane, and also I think those prices are going to escalate, and I think people are waiting on the Elliot Anderson transfer to be like, how high are, assuming it's going to be City, how high are City going to go with that deal, and what's that going to do to the market as well? So yeah, my one worry is just that a lot of clubs, including United, end up just backing off, just going too expensive, and then you do end up not getting anyone because you've just backed off a lot, right? So yeah, it's this market, I don't know, I really don't know, but again, I think that is also indicative of just where it is, of just, yeah, some players are going for, some players like Van Heck, who's a good defender, don't get me wrong, but that's another one of, is he ready to make a step up, and Spurs, what do they even look like after last season with De Zerbi? They should be better than they were under the previous managers, but you never know. £52 million, 50-odd million pounds, 27 years old, Premier League defender from Brighton, year left on his contract. So, yeah, this market's insane, which will probably mean that, yeah, we end up paying some inflated prices. And also, this is also, I suppose this is the other aspect of it, right? Which is when you get into the whole, value and price, as I always say, that's really subjective, isn't it? Because it's like any transaction. To one club, that the player might be worth 70, 80 million, not necessarily because of just what they deliver on the pitch, but everything around it, with shirt sales, with sponsorships, with just their value to the club and keeping in the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot we don't consider, I suppose, when it comes to value. And, and also, I suppose, as well, because we've seen that with a lot of these clubs, well, I suppose the other thing to consider is that with some of the teams that we are negotiating with, if it's a Premier League club or, in the case of West Ham, if it's a Championship club, that I suppose there is also this balancing act with them of they need the money, but they also don't want to, I suppose, find themselves in a position where, like in West Ham's case, they're like, well, yeah, we know Matez Fernandes and Somerville we're probably going to sell this summer, but we've also got to get the money, one, because we need it, but two, we also want to get our own players. We want to get out of the Championship. We've seen Premier League clubs in the past drop down to Championship and then it take years to come back. Or Premier League clubs, I suppose, in the Prem, yeah, I'm willing to sell this player, but, what's the price of losing him and then potentially being a worse team because of it? How could that affect our Premier League status, right? So they're all things that go into these negotiations. But as of now, I still think we'll probably get 5 or 6 deals and 5 or 6 players, and I still think we'll be okay. It's too early yet, but there's twitchiness. There always is. What else are people saying here in the chat? Like I said, I want to get some opinions this morning. Cuban says we paid 55 for Mount with 1 year left. Least we forget. I know. Well, was it 55 plus 5? I think it was as well, something like that. But once again, I think they were based on the was it like qualification of Champions Leagues and Premier League victories, which we've been spotty at. But yeah, to be honest, The most egregious thing with that one for me isn't even the price of the year left on his contract. It's the contract, £250,000 a week. You know, if that contract wasn't that high, I think Mason Mount would have probably gone by now. And this is why it's critical. And I know that whenever we talk about contracts or prices, you get the pushback of don't pocket watch, just get the job done. But it does have a lasting impact, which is why in the past we've not been able to move players on because they've got big contracts. That is something that's been, I go back to the last 18 months, that's been a lot better as well. The contracts that we've signed players on, they're all around like, what is it, like 180, 150, something along those lines, which I think is about right for where we're at the moment. You know, I think Matthijs de Ligt was on around 190, but and I wasn't even really thrilled on that. But yeah, so my biggest one with Mount is the contract. I mean, we're still dealing with the big contracts now. We're going to talk about Rashford in just a second. That's one of the biggest talking points with the Marcus Rashford situation, isn't it? Is the contract. Who can pick that up? Even if he takes a pay cut, who's going to be willing to pick that up? So that's why all those things are always important. What else have we got here? Chiak says Mateus Fernandes isn't a bargain. Well, we don't know yet, do we? We don't know what the transfer fee is going to be, right? Because that's the other thing as well. With the way that Man United transfers are covered, which we saw even this summer already with the Edison deal, that transfer fee was all over the place for the few weeks before we got the kind of like, here we go, wasn't it? So we'll see. We'll see what his transfer fee is going to be. But I would be cautious on what what West Ham are putting out there. Bear in mind, we haven't even put a bid in yet. We haven't even put a bid in for Mateus Fernandes, so we have no idea whether he's going to be a bargain or not. My hope is, I was talking to Flex about this yesterday, is I just wonder what our process is going to be for when we actually put the bid in, because the traditional United bidding process, isn't it, is first bid low, rejected immediately. Second bid, like 5 million higher, rejected. Third and final bid, all right, we've got it over the line. So I don't know if we're going to be doing that again this year, or we're just going to go straight in with, here's 65 plus 5, or I suppose, again, this is why they do the whole low bid. Do they go 60 plus 5? We know they're going to reject that. But but our max is 65 plus 10 or something. So we've got to work our way up to it. So if we start with that and they reject it, then we've got no way to go. I don't know. This is why better people are involved in that kind of shit. What else are people saying here in the chat at the moment as well? Compost says Van Hecke is worth 50 million plus to Brighton, even with 1 year left. They are in Europe and could feasibly get in Europe again, so they'd earn more. And this is kind of my point with the whole valuation thing as well, which is, I think as fans sometimes see things, don't we, and go, like I just did there, 52 million, a year left on his contract, Van Hecke, I don't know about that one. But to Brighton, as you mentioned, they'll say, well, no, for us, he's a starting centre-back, and we've just qualified for Europe, and we've got a European campaign coming up, and he was valuable in us getting Europe, and that got us a lot of money as well, and Brighton, they're not worried. You know what I mean? They'll go sign another centre-back. They probably already signed a couple of centre-backs we don't know about. They signed them 3 years ago in the preparation for selling Van Hecke for 52 million 3 years ago. They probably knew. That's how well run they are. Yeah, they could make those things. So then, like I said, that's part of the whole negotiating process as well, isn't it? S. Madison says Liverpool just signed a gem in 1 day. That's business. I would say, S. Madison, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong in that they hijacked the Newcastle deal for the guy from Osasuna. However, we must be very careful with praise. And we have to look at last year. People said exactly the same thing about Liverpool last year, didn't they? Look at how they are moving in this market. They're getting Wirtz, they're getting Isak, they're getting Frimpong, they just got Kirkes. Holy effing shit. This is the Liverpool dynasty being built for the next decade plus. And then what happened? So this is kind of my point of the whole, they're moving fast or they're getting players through the door. Look at the way that they move. Obviously, it's not to say that's not important. It is. You want to have your players through the door as quickly as possible. But. It's also about the integration, you know what I mean? It's also about, the coach in charge. It's about a lot of things. So, yes, I understand the envy of looking at a club, Liverpool or whoever, and go, bloody hell, look at them going. But I think last season serves as a great example, or last summer serves as a great example. And also most transfer windows, not all the time, granted, but a lot of the time, the team that wins the window, that team won the window. I'd love to know the correlation of the team that wins the window, where they end up finishing that season. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. I don't know, but I wonder. I wonder about that one. So because as I say, I remember last summer. Liverpool had won the league. Manchester United, we'd had a terrible summer. Worst, according to the agents, worst transfers. Benjamin Šeško, worst one, right? But Mateusz Kudi walks around. So, yeah, I think we have to be a bit careful of looking at those other clubs and being like, look at the way they're moving, because who knows, right? Who knows? I remember PSG winning a window by getting Messi, and they couldn't get out. Was it the round of 16 or wherever it was in the Champions League? They had to demolish and rebuild again. So sometimes that's kind of my point. Sometimes with transfer windows, it isn't the most obvious team that wins the window that ends up winning the season, as it were. When it comes to the window, I remember Liverpool when they won the league. They only signed Chiesa. that one, and they were being tipped that season for the season they had last season, of if they can just get top 4 under Arne Slot in the first season, they'll take that, right? So it just those, I think we have to be careful with those kind of narratives. That's kind of my point, and that's not to say that, because. And this is the problem too. When you do sort of go, well, there's another side to that gets pushed back up. So you're gaslighting us, and you're trying to be a Glazer sympathizer or an Ineos sympathizer, and you're trying to tell us that we're not allowed to feel nervous. Not at all. It's just that I think we have to be really careful with, again, those narratives of, this team's doing that. Like someone put it in the chat there a minute ago, and it's so true. The whole Liverpool did that in a day. They didn't do that in a day. You know what I mean? The journalists just didn't hear about it for a few days. That wasn't done in a day, right? And also, it must be pointed out, even a here we go isn't it's done today. Sometimes it can be there's a verbal agreement, but there's still a lot of stuff to do before that transfer actually gets done. It's not full stop done, finished right now. So, I think I just have to be careful with that kind of stuff. I think we just have to be careful with those kind of narratives. Rory says, in all caps, so he must be serious. Yeah, but you're being disingenuous, Owen, because last year was a fantastic summer for them. When you look at the signings they made, you can shit on them in hindsight, but those were brilliant signings. Well, I can shit on them because they broke the transfer record twice, and they barely qualified for Champions League. To be honest, if a lot of teams hadn't shit the bed, they wouldn't have. Like Chelsea, if they hadn't shit the bed, they wouldn't have, right? So, and also, I mean, with that, then why bother doing any transfer analysis in the first place? If we can go, well, eventually they'll be good, so it doesn't matter. Okay. That transfer window when we finished 15th, that actually was a good window. We didn't finish 15th the next season, because we finished 3rd the next season, so that was a good window. You're wrong. In reality, it was like a half good window. Like I said, it weren't great. Ugarte, Xerxes, etc. Are we allowed to retrospectively go back and say, actually, 3 years ago that window was good because, you know what I mean? What? What? Yeah, that's a bit. I don't know about that one. I'm not sure. And I think in the noise and in the concern of, and the as I mentioned earlier on, the twitchiness. The twitchiness of seeing transfers is also it's always worth remembering that those that win the window, how often do they win the season? obviously you want to bring players in and you want to get players and deals done early, but at the same time, sometimes, what can on the surface look like a fantastic window, is can end up not being that, and then at the end of it they have to rebuild it. I mean, bloody hell, we've done it enough. We've done it enough, haven't we? I remember times when I know when times Man United have won the window, and then we end up going on and not having the best season at all, right? So yeah, I don't know. What else we got in the chat? Slim Reaper says, Owen loves the sound of his own voice. Don't get into it with us. We'll try and rattle you. But this I don't understand, Slim Reaper. One, I'm literally here by myself, so I'm going to have to talk. Two, I want to interact with the chat. This is what I don't get sometimes with like the chat. Like I'll go like, you don't just want to read super chats or what have you. But then if you do talk to the chat, it's like you can't talk to the chat. Why can't I talk to the chat? I want to talk to the chat. Why not? And also, I've got to talk. If I don't talk, I'm not gonna. What am I to do? I mean, my goodness, I don't have a co-host today. Exactly. The whole point I would assume of the chat is to have a dialogue, right? Is to talk. I mean. If I don't talk to you, then I'm really going to have to talk to my own voice to myself, aren't I? My goodness me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, Matty Millen. Two ways. I don't want to sit in silence, and I don't want you to sit in silence either. I want you to talk as well. Imagine that. Imagine I went in the chat was like, all right, show you spoke. Enough of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that one. I would get Asher up, but she's asleep. She's asleep at the moment. I always feel bad when if I wake her up when she's sleeping. She sleeps in the during the shows. I assume because she's a dog, not because she's tired. She's probably the same. He loves the sound of his own voice. Should we talk about Rashford? Should we talk about Marcus Rashford? Obviously, with him scoring last night for England, there was discussions. Actually, no, super chats first. Let me stay on track. Otherwise, I will. There you go. Amanor says, not going to lie, I would pay £100 million plus for Anderson. What a player. This is what I was saying. I think some people last night may have changed their mind, and he didn't even have his greatest game. So let him know when he has a really good game. Croatia scored some beautiful goals. That they did. That 2 goals last night were brilliant. I mean, that second goal. I mean, obviously, I know there was a bit of conversation, wasn't there, afterwards about, is that defense strong enough to go win a World Cup and all what have you? I was a bit surprised that Mark Gahey didn't start. I'm a big fan of his, and just I mean, I get the whole John Stones experience, but at the same time. He hasn't played a lot of football recently, and I think Mark Gahey has. He's also made the step up to Man City, and I know he's made a couple of mistakes, like that Everton one, but I think he's looked fairly comfortable. So I was very surprised to not see him start. But at the same time, there is this discussion, which I do think is fair too, of like it's a bigger tournament. You do have to manage the minutes, manage the conditions, even though that was an air-conditioned stadium last night. Still had the hydration breaks, which were booed. But I do kind of hope that I see Gahey get more minutes as the tournament goes on, and I was the person that was like, I wouldn't have given Maguire a new contract, and I still stand by that. But I do just wonder if they're going to miss a Harry Maguire in that tournament. Bit of leadership, as we've seen this season with us. People can criticise Harry Maguire all they want, but at points this season, when we've had our injuries, De Ligt, Martinez, and we've needed an experienced centre-back to help lead the back line, Maguire has stepped up and done a good job. And you feel like with England, they might need that in some games. So I do worry about that one. However, the goals they did score, I thought the second goal was a fabulous goal from Croatia. I did watch the game, and this isn't even a shot at Jordan Pickford, but I do sort of watch him play for England sometimes, and I do sort of go, if we had like a real top quality goalkeeper, then I just think teams might not be able to sort of lay a bit of a glove on us sometimes. But I do sort of look at Pickford and go, I don't know. He's always done well for England. You know what I mean? And that's the thing with him. He's always done well for England, and he's penalty shootouts and what have you. But so I just watch him sometimes at England and go, I don't know. He makes me a bit nervous. Jordan Pickford makes me a bit nervy. But going forward, certainly in the second half, we were fantastic. Marcus Rashford came on, got his goal, and of course at the time when everyone's talking about Rashford and obviously Barca not being interested, it's now led to speculation going, hey, could he actually come back? What's the situation now? Rio. We're saying this. Make sure I've got this turned on. I have. There you go. With the what you call it and the thingy. Play.
Man United might have to start reevaluating Marcus.
Ooh. Try that again.
Rashford situation.
There you go.
Rio.
I'm happy to change. I'm not wrong and strong. That's not my game.
Wow.
Marcus Rashford, it seems like he's matured. The time away from the club may have done him the good that he needed, and it's cleansed both parties. And is it time? Is it time to shake hands and come back?
I think the first time he misses a tackle, doesn't track back, misses an open net,
could be hard for him, innit?
The fan base would hammer him.
I still I agree with what Howson is saying there as well. I think that we do have to be really, really calm. And this is why I'm being quite calm just about England in general. Because I thought this last night too. So you see, for instance, Portugal... they drew their game yesterday. Or you see Argentina when they lost at the last World Cup against Saudi Arabia in their first game. The general reaction after those results is, that's a bad result, or that's not great, but it's only one game. It's the beginning of the tournament. We shouldn't read too much into this. Well, then... realistically, it should be the same thing when you win your first game as well, isn't it? Right? I don't know. Obviously, if you win the first game and we were exciting, you can be excited about that. But you also, I suppose, can't get carried away. And I think that pertains to scoring goals as well. Marcus Rashford, when he came on last night, looked really, really bright, looked dangerous. Actually, after he scored, I thought he was going to get another one where it was a counter-attack. I think it was him and Saka. And I think his touch was a little bit off, or the pass was a bit off. I forget. But, so there's still... a huge amount of tournament to go, and I feel like he's come on last night and scored as a sub. He's one substitute appearance or starting a game going, oh, actually, again, terrible. No, don't keep him, right? So I'm not going to be too reactive based off the game last night, even though I think he did look really, really sharp. I still don't think he comes back. I don't think so. I just, as I've said a million times, I feel like just too much has happened. I think there is too much baggage there, and it's not even like a slight Rashford. I just feel like too much has happened just to put it all into the past. And you hear these things of like, well, it wasn't just Ruben that didn't fancy Rashford. There was stuff within the club as well, and they say just don't go. I'm not a big advocate of going back. You know what I mean? I'm not a good advocate in going back, and I feel like what we have done over the last 18 months is made some more positive sort of strides forward after some terrible, terrible backwards steps. And not to say that Marcus Rashford is a step backwards. I just feel like we kind of do this a lot, don't we? Of should we bring De Gea back? Should we bring Pogba back? Should we bring this player back? Should we bring that player back? And it's kind of like, maybe not. Maybe let's just keep moving forward. I think Rashford's done well away from United. We've done well, not just because he's gone, but we've done well in our next chapter. So we should that should carry on. However, the issue is this isn't a case like, say, De Gea or Pogba. After they've gone, he's still under contract to us. So we may not have a choice in that regard, right? If no one comes in, which I don't think is the case. David Ornstein and others said there'd been a lot of interest in that £40 million release clause. But ultimately, the power lays firmly in the hands of Marcus Rashford, right? If Marcus Rashford doesn't want to leave and has changed his mind about leaving Manchester United, then he's going to come back. The evidence is there for others that have done similar thing, right? Jadon Sancho, I'm sure, probably had permanent transfer options on the table for him the last 3 seasons, but he didn't want to take them because he wanted to see out his contract, which is, as much as we can hammer him for it, it's his right to do. It's his prerogative. He signed that deal. If Marcus Rashford wanted to do the same, there's not a lot that they can do. And you can then have sort of 2 sides of it, or 2 directions you can go in. You can go in the direction of, like, for instance, Raheem Sterling, where I'm not going anywhere, and they're just on the periphery. They're in this bomb squad, and they're just there for months until eventually either their contract comes up, or they go out on loan again, or they leave. Or you can have a situation a bit like for instance, Terrell Malacia was part of the bomb squad, and then he was reintegrated because deals didn't happen. And eventually, of course, his contract expired, but he did make a couple of appearances. And I think if Rashford was reintegrated in similar to that, he wouldn't be like Malacia, where it's only a cameo here and there. I think if Marcus Rashford was reintegrated, I do think they would use him. I don't think you have like what's his contract, £300,000 a week. If the decision is made that he's not going, then do you just leave him to, wither on the vine, or do you try and get something out of him? But then, of course, others would say, well, that's the dangerous thing, is you allow them to get back in, and then when you're trying to move them on again in a year's time, it's even more difficult. So I don't know. Certainly, I'm more uncertain than I was a couple of weeks ago. No doubt about that. If you'd have asked me 3 or 4 weeks ago, is Marcus Rashford coming back? I'd have been like, absolutely no chance at all. He'll still end up going to Barca. It'll be fine. And this is how mad this window is. I still even wouldn't rule out him still somehow going back to Barca. I still wouldn't even rule out him going back to Barca and forcing that through in Man United cave on all, because anything's possible. Anything is possible. But as of today, I'm still leaning more towards, I still think he'll leave. I think I push back on the idea of, well, he doesn't want to go and play for another club in England, and if that is the case, he'll see out his deal, because that is such an about face by everyone, by everyone in a short space of time, that it would just feel like, wow, what has changed there? Is it a Cobby situation where, just Ruben went, Carrick came in, and next thing you know, they're back into the team? But I just feel like the Cobby one and the Rashford one, I feel like they're different. I feel like they're different situations. So I'm not sure. But certainly, we look at it from a United fans' perspective of, he scores last night. Oh, should he come back? I would look at it the other way, going, well, if he's scoring in the World Cup, surely that makes even more teams look at his current status and go, what, we can go get him for 40 million. Let's go get him. Let's go get him in. Let's go bring him. He's scoring at the World Cup. He looks like he's up for it, in good shape. He'll have a point to prove after the Barca one. Let's see if we can bring him in. So I still think he goes. And like I say, I do push back on that bit of like, I wouldn't want to play for another club in England. I know it's not a permanent deal, but he went on loan to Villa, and I'm sure they would have him back. And whether or not Rashford maybe thinks that, I'm too big a player to be permanently signed to Villa in the Champions League, winning Europa Leagues. I mean, Villa at this point, with what Villa have been doing over the last few years, I mean, like I said, the whole top 6 thing is bullshit, I think. But if you wanted to sort of do a redone version of it, then Villa would probably be a top 6 side, wouldn't they? With where they've been finishing. They've won trophies now over the last however many years. They've been in the Champions League. You say Villa is a top 6 side. Or does the top 6 change? Has it become top 7 now, or top 8? I don't even know anymore. A season or 2 ago, they tried to put Newcastle in it. Now maybe they're not in it again. I don't even know. But so I don't see the whole, I wouldn't play for another Premier League club or an English club when, he kind of already has. So I still think he'll end up going. And, a bit like with that Villa loan, that came very late, last minute, out of the blue. And sometimes those things can happen as well. Maybe a European club comes in for him too. But I suppose when you do have to consider how it's going to affect our transfer plans, that I would assume is money that people, I know I had, and I would assume people in the club had earmarked as being gone in the summer. You know, like I said, for the last 6 months, if you'd have asked most people, is Rashford going to be gone in the summer? Is Rashford going to come back? It'd be absolutely not. You know, definitely not going to come back. He'll end up going to Barca on a permanent, or something else will happen. And that was wages and a transfer fee of pure profit. Now, do we suddenly then go, oof, like we don't have that money that we thought we were going to get? Does that stop getting a left winger? Does that stop getting a left back or something like that? I don't know. I really don't know. So, but this one I think is now more difficult to predict, because look at what's happened in the last few weeks. So, yeah, I still think, like I said, he ends up going, but as of today, I certainly would be less surprised if we ended up seeing him back. I still would be somewhat surprised, but anything's possible. Anything's possible. Compost says never overestimate Barca. That's the other thing as well, isn't it? You know, they play some mad games, so that's why I still say I don't think you can still technically rule out the idea of him being in a Barca shirt next season, even though they've said like no, and it would only be a loan and this, that, and the other. You never know. Tyrone says, Owen, we know deep down you want him back. Stop fighting it so hard. I'm doing the same thing. To be honest, I was thinking about this last night too. I mean, but I've always been like this, and I know people are different with this kind of thing. I'm not really, in terms of like, you know, how, you know, fans of clubs and fans of players. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm such a backstabbing bitch when it comes to like players. Like if once they're gone from Man United, I don't really have that much affinity to players in general. My affinity is always to Man United. So like that's why when you hear about so and so might leave, I'm like, well, go then. if you don't want to be a go, or so and so's left, you know, on a permanent or a loan, and it just goes poof out my head. I don't really care. Not in like a mean way of like, because I never do the whole I hope they do bad, because I just don't get that. Because it doesn't matter, you know, that I've never understood that. Oh, I hope he goes there and does terrible. Like for instance, if you see Garnacho go to Chelsea and you see him do badly, it makes you feel better, but at the same time, I don't go out my way and be like, I hope you do bad. I don't care. I should focus my energy on Man United, not another team. So, yeah, I'm to be honest, with Rashford coming back or not, I'm honestly massively indifferent. If it was me, I would go no, just because I am just a believer on not going back. I'm more a believer in just, all right, that was a chapter, that's closed. Let's move forward. For everyone. Rashford the same. You know, you've got your career kind of back up and running a little bit now. Do you want to risk going back to a bad place, you know, for you? And Man United, do you want to risk going back to that? Probably not. So that's my feeling of it. But in terms of like attachment to players or anything like that, when I saw him score last night as an England fan, I was obviously thrilled for England, and I was happy for him, because I'm happy for any England player that can score at the World Cup. But in terms of like affinity to Man United players, like I said, genuinely, once they're gone or once they're on the way out, I really don't care. I really don't care. I don't know if that makes me like a sociopath, or what's it when you can't empathize with people? Is that psychopath? I don't know. But it's always been like that. And it's also the same of like, that's why, you know, with like transfers, if we get turned down, or a bit like, for instance, like the Semenyo one in January, it would have been great to get Antoine Semenyo, obviously. But once in my brain I hear he doesn't want to come to us, then in my head I'm like, right, then go. Then you can go then. I don't care. Nessie says, we like that with Ronaldo? Yes. yes. I mean, look, if it's like they go away and Ronaldo went to Real Madrid, did fantastic things, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. What a player. Fantastic player. Incredible player. But it didn't relate to, it didn't affect Man United anymore. So I didn't really care about it. You know what I mean? And or support it. Maybe I'm not using the words correctly, but it's kind of like that, where I'm just like, oh, you know, what a player, amazing player. He used to play for Man United, but now that he's gone, he's gone. And it was the same when he came back the second time. I mean, obviously you can see it on here. Once he said he didn't want to be here, then he should go, you know, with it. And because that's just, I think that's like it with everything. if you're in a job and you don't like it there and you have the ability to leave and find another job, financially, then you should go. If you're in a relationship and you're not happy, and you don't want to be there, you should go. It's kind of like, I feel like that's what it is, So I'm kind of the same with players and what have you. I don't really get attached to players because also they'll not that they'll let you down, but for a team sport, football is also a very individualistic sport. So I think you have to be, a little bit careful with, or at least this is what I look at it as, being attached to players, because players come and go. Players come and go. There isn't really much of a thing as loyalty nowadays. Very rarely you get one club person, and players come and go, managers come and go, executives come and go, but Manchester United stays. So for me, I'm always going to support the thing that stays. As they say about managers or owners of clubs, they're just custodians. They've got it for now, but they'll come and go. They'll leave eventually. So why follow them for the rest of their careers when Man United, the institution, is always going to be there? That's kind of my, thought process on that. But since someone did bring up Ronaldo, Show Rahman, just very, very quickly, very, very quickly on that, since we're about to wrap up, what do we think of just that, comments or discussion, which is basically Portugal, actually, they're not going to win anything with Cristiano Ronaldo, and actually someone's got to try and take the bullet and go and almost sit him down and go, thanks, but no thanks, basically. When is anyone even capable at Portugal to have that conversation with him? Because the last coach tried to do it at the last World Cup and he got sacked. So I don't. It's like it has to be him, isn't it? It has to be him to take himself out the game, but he never will. And as far as the Roberto Martinez stuff about him, he should have a backbone to do it. Well, it turns out, I saw this morning that they reckon, because he's leaving after the World Cup, they reckon that he might be going to Al Nassr. So maybe that's why Cristiano Ronaldo might not get dropped in this tournament. So, yeah, I don't know. But you do just watch that game, and a really good contrast I felt was between the England game and the Portugal game is, you see these teams have been set up. If you've got that star player, that franchise player, that one, you kind of build your team around that one if they're like a striker. So that England team is built to kind of service Harry Kane, because if you give Harry Kane chances, he'll score goals that can win you a tournament. You kind of saw a bit with Messi, with Argentina. Even at his age, nearly 39 years old, he can score a hat-trick at World Cup, because if you service him, he'll get you goals. And it's kind of like that Portugal team try and do that for Ronaldo, but it's just like, it's too forced, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's just too forced. And yeah, I saw there was a Whoop advert, which of course Ronaldo I think's got shares in or something. And he was like, my biological age is 29. It's basically going, I'm not 42. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. It feels like someone's got to sit him down and have that conversation with him, but you can't. Because how can you? How can you have that conversation with Cristiano Ronaldo? Brother, you're going to have to step aside here. Who the fuck are you? I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. Oh, yeah, true. What do they do? Like I said, the last guy that did it, he got sacked. So, and they put in Roberto Martinez, who might end up being his manager in Saudi anyway. So he's not going to probably drop him. I suppose maybe it's the how badly do you want to win? But at the same time, if you're going to ask someone how badly they want to win, Cristiano Ronaldo is playing 42 in a World Cup. That's how badly he wants to win. So yeah, and that is such a loaded issue to deal with. And clearly their thought process going into this World Cup is, if we just try and keep everyone happy, maybe that's our chance at winning it. But they've got such a good team, such a good squad, and such great players that for them, it would be a shame for it to be not ruined by Cristiano Ronaldo, because that seems crazy, but to let all of that stop, potential history in winning World Cups. But then, Ronaldo and Martinez will say, well, we won Nations League, so there you go. I don't know with that one, but it does feel like someone's got to have that conversation. But this is the funny thing, like I say, about these World Cups. At the same time, you can't get too carried away after one game. What if Ronaldo scores a couple of goals in the next one? Probably then there'll be the conversation, won't there, about how good of goals were they? They were tap-ins. they were tap-ins. That's not what it was. So we shall see with that one. But that is going to be a nice, interesting subplot through the World Cup, which they'll continue to be. And I shout out to the Congo. I thought they actually did really, really well yesterday. And obviously Wissa scoring his goal. Wan-Bissaka at the World Cup, hey. But very early days. This is the Portugal squad that won the Euros. Didn't they draw all three of their group stage games at the Euros in 2016 and went on winning the whole thing? So, yeah. Anything's possible. And certainly in a final or in a clutch match, or anything like that, of course you would still want Cristiano Ronaldo. So, it's still very, very early days. And who knows? What happens if Argentina, they go out fairly early. That hat trick from Messi, that was great. But at the same time, where did it get you? So we shall see with Ronaldo. He does live to prove people wrong, no doubt about that. Maybe he'll still have his moments. Or maybe Portugal will exit early and it'll be a whole, I shouldn't have really done that, but what are you going to do? Time will tell. And we caught up with the Supers. I think I am. Yes. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. There will be more content on the way. We might have some Flex's views coming up later. If not, they'll be coming up tomorrow, along with Trinity and what have you too. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. You can see right there, we're less than 50 subscribers away from 212,000. So yes, if you haven't already, make sure you've clicked in the bottom right-hand corner, turn notifications on. It is transfer season, of course, so you never know when stories are going to break. You never know when transfers are going to happen and what have you. So click the notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live for another stream or if a video gets uploaded. Enjoy your Thursday, folks. Appreciate you staying locked in for a solo show. Appreciate that you have to hear the sound of my voice. So do I. I mean, it's better than sitting in silence, isn't it? Maybe that's what we should do. Asher, do you want to do a show tomorrow? Asher, you want to do a show? Do you want to do... She said she doesn't want a co-host. She said she didn't want a co-host. Damn. I mean, do you want to do it solo? Come on, you can do it. You can do a solo show. I mean, people are asking questions about you, Asher, because they said that you said that Brazil are going to win the World Cup. You a bit shy this morning. There you go. Yeah, she doesn't want to show her face. Doesn't want to show her face. But to be honest, after the World Cup, Brazil thing, she's feeling a bit nervous about it. It'll be fine. If it's just one game, it's one game. Yeah, she'll be embarrassed about it. It's fine. You still win. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So it's still going with Brazil. Yeah, all right. No problem. Anyway, guys, enjoy your Thursday. We're out of here. Peace.